Speed is right back behind the country. It's Oliver Christ. Oh, he's done it!
Having was there as well. O'Neill and Lam look to win. Rangers look for a goal. It's in there. See if they'll fit him well. Gascoigne now. Some magic. Still has Gascoigne. Oh yes! Wants to foul. Oh, it's brilliant! Scoots him back. John Lundstrom. 3-0 Rangers. This cross is a good one. That hits Libra.
Hello and welcome back again to another episode of We Are the Podcast. This will be a brief discussion of events after last night's Europa League game, leading into a preview of the Killie game on Sunday at Ibrox. How we doing this evening, boys? Any less raging?
Probably not, to be honest with you. Consumed a fair amount of alternate Rangers media since last night. Much the same as the vibe across everybody, I think, to be honest, is what you were saying last night. So everybody's pretty much in agreement, including Ali McCoist. I heard in TalkSport this morning, talking about the recruitment and how the players that he signed aren't good enough and so on and so forth. So nothing new. It seems like everybody's in agreement.
Stevie, yourself, how are you? 24,
Much the
no,
same
no,
as-
even 24 hours removed, but aye,
Aye.
thereabouts.
Much the same as last night, maybe calmed down a wee bit. So apologies if I was a bit too negative to everybody that was listening. But it's kind of one of the ones when you're doing it in the direct aftermath of a game. That's always going to happen. But it's one of the ones where you're kind of like, and we'll probably go. I'm probably jumping the gun here, but we will go into it in more detail. But I think for me, the rage is starting to pass because it's happening so often. You know, it's not an acceptance. It's just a kind of, well, where do we really go for here? We can only really go up, you know. But this is Rangers we're talking about, and just when you think things can't get any lower, they go ahead and they get lower. But that's me trying to get my negativity out of the way. Let's try and be a wee bit more positive and see where it takes us.
Well, it's funny you should say that because one of the bits of feedback we got for last night's episode was that we were less negative than some of the big boys, which I'm quite happy about, to be honest. Obviously, we didn't start this with a view to just being absolutely negative all the time. It's just the way the cards have been dealt for us at the minute. We obviously started last night's pod bang on full time. So we missed a lot of the post-match comments and stuff like that from the pundits in the studios and Danny Rule himself, as well as James Tavanir. Tav is a bit of a dead horse when it comes to the fans beating him down with his post matches. Last night, it kind of seemed like he is a wee bit at the end of his tether with it all. I don't know what you guys thought about his post match, Charlie. What did you take for that?
To be honest, like he's the captain and he's kind of, we talked about this the other night, he's a bit of a lightning rod, right? But he's a captain and he's damned if he does, damned if he doesn't. If he doesn't come out and talk, then people go, oh, he should have been saying something. He's coming out and talking about how raging he is, right? Sorry, but he was directly at fault for that first goal. Him and John Suter combined 50-50. So see if it was me, and I'm not a fucking professional, pardon my French, but I'm not a high-level professional football player at all, right? But you could probably apply that to any workplace, right? If somebody in your team was going, "Oh, everybody's doing terrible," whilst also doing terrible, then I'm sorry, but that would annoy me, to be honest with you. I don't think he needs to come out and say something, right? I get it, but to sit there and say he's raging, doesn't know what some of the boys are thinking. Well, I don't know what he's thinking when he's defending that first goal.
I think as well was the way it came across in the interview, because like I read the caption before actually watching it, and he was like, "Oh, I'm raging," but he goes at the end of it, "I'm raging." You know, there didn't sound to be, and I get you obviously need to watch what you're saying with these things and how you're wording things, but just the way he went, "Oh, I'm raging," you know, as if you're like, "No, you're not, mate. You're not." And I don't want to bash the guy because as much as he is a lightning rod for the support, he has done a lot of good for Rangers in the time he's been there. But I mean, look, we said this with Butland the other day. Talk is cheap. You know, it's time to start putting it into action, and it has to start on Sunday. Because if it doesn't start on Sunday, it's just going to get worse. And what I will say, fair play to Danny Rule for going to the fans after the game, and not just going to applaud them, going and speaking to them, and then also doing the same at the airport.
He absolutely didn't need to do that, by the way. That was
No,
no on
100%,
him.
he didn't he? And again, that's on the guy's been in the door for 3 days. You know, that shouldn't have to happen. Yeah, guy that's just in the door. If Thelwell and Stewart had anything about them, they would have made sure he wasn't put in that situation. You know, and as we said last night, it's not his fault for the result. You know, there's only so much you can do in with 2 training sessions. But the thing, having thought about it, the thing that worries me is that's a new manager coming in the door. You need to impress them when you go out and you put in a performance like that. You know, like, see if you go out and you get battered by a team, but you can see that they've given their all, you can go, fair play, we've just been better, just been beaten by a better team. I didn't see that last night. I seen a team who just, who a man other than Butland didn't look like they wanted to be there. Just going through the motions.
Mate, honest to God, like, how many times have these two guys hid behind a manager? Right? Now, we know that the previous guy wasn't any great shakes, right? But see all that whole time when all this, it was getting really toxic. They were nowhere to be seen except for Kevin Thirlwell doing an interview, making himself look like an idiot, to be honest, by saying he's one of the best coaches and blah, blah, blah. After then sacking him 4 weeks later, right? Or then the club sacked him 4 weeks later because it didn't improve. But they've once again at that airport hid behind the manager because apparently, from what I'm just hearing, what's apparently happened is they've started shouting abuse at the two of them, and then Rules actually went over and started speaking to them almost to deflect. So they two are quite happy to hide behind another manager when actually, see that squad building, that's on the two of them. It's on Thelwell mostly, but that's on Patrick Stewart as well because I'm guessing he had a big part to play in the hiring of Thelwell anyway. I was saying to you guys on the group chat earlier on, see, to say for Andrew Kavanagh, right, he's not going to come out and say that the guy's jacket's in a shaky nail, right? He's not going to do that. But see, to come out and say we made a mistake with the manager and then to admit that they went too long with it as well, to then repeat that with a sporting director is actually worse. And the reason why that's worse, right, is he gets another window, God forbid, right, but he gets another window. This is damn. So with a manager, tactics can be changed quicker than players can be changed. So if he goes on to sign more players that are really no suited for this and overspending on, I'm sorry, but until I see otherwise, Chamiti's a complete dud to me for that much money. He's no even anywhere near what a raw player would look like that's worth that much money. So if we look at Egeman for an example, right, we paid whatever £1.5, £2 million or whatever for him, right? Even at his rawest, when we were saying he's raw and he's not ready to play games, he was still better than Chamiti is at £8 million. So
Yeah. When he came in, sorry to cut you off, mate. When he came in, completely agree. He was raw as hell, but you could see there was a player there. I don't see that with Chermity at all.
Yep.
And suppose the worrying part is the two main strikers that we've got only scoring goals and don't really look like scoring goals.
And we don't create any chances for them either.
No, exactly. I mean, looking back, I watched the highlights again of last night. You had the two Raskin chances in the first half, and then you had the Mikey Moore one in the second half. None of the strikers were even, and obviously Chermity's had that header as well, which was like, if you're a striker on form, you score that without even thinking about it, you know. But he didn't even. There was no conviction in the header. He just didn't look like it was. He believed he could score, you know.
At one point, he's called for a ball at the back post. It's been delivered to the back post, and he wasn't there.
And he's like, nowhere near it.
There was a one that Ant-Man flashed across the front and all. like taking out the defender, both him and there was another person at the other side and that was never getting it. But Ali said on comms, if Chermiti sticks his left foot out of that, even if he's not getting it, it looks as though he's even tried to get it.
Yeah.
That's better. That's better than what he actually did, which was nothing. Which just
Mhm.
seems to be Chermiti's remit. Like again, we've said it countless times. He's a young boy. We don't want to harp on, but he didn't ask to be paid. He didn't ask to be bought for 8 million quid. But the fact doesn't matter. He has been charged. He has been bought for 8 million quid. And a couple of the pods that I was listening to today were making some really good points. As we during the summer after the 49ers came in, we started making all these kind of relationships with other clubs and smaller clubs and stuff like that. Ship him out, send him to one of them, like get him experience somewhere else. He's not a starter for us. He should never be a starter for us now. After the last couple of times that he's had a start and he's done nothing with it, like just get him, just get him out, just get him out.
Can you imagine that Chermiti in January getting sent on loan to Rafe Rovers for the rest of the season?
It's,
Be
it's what
some
needs to
laugh.
happen. None of the players in our team now on form that we've seen since the start of the season, apart from Jack Butland, are undroppable. Every single one of them can be dropped at the drop of a hat, as far as I'm concerned.
It's the
Just to
only
go
area
back
of
to
the
my
park
point,
that
right?
we're strong at is in goals. Because I would have no, if Jack Butland got injured, I would have no hesitation about Liam Kelly playing in goals. Obviously, he's not as good as Butland, but when he came in last season, he was fine. Saved a penalty against Bilbao. Had a decent game against Celtic in January when Butland was injured. I'd have no qualms about that, but we don't like. It's not even that we lack depth; we lack a decent starting 11 at the same time. And it's brutal. It's absolutely brutal, and it's hard to see where the improvement comes from. One of the big things, and we spoke about this earlier, was it has to be a change of shape. You've got to try something different because the current system does not work. It's just not working.
You were coming
See,
back in with something there, Cheech, sorry.
I just to top off my point there, but to allow a sporting director to go on when he's clearly unsuitable for the job is
Negligence.
actually worse than leaving the manager going. And Kavanagh is a much smarter and more business savvy guy than me, right? I'm not obviously going to question that, but right now we've already questioned his him signing off on the manager getting hired and then admitting he was wrong, right? Surely at this point, whether he admits it publicly or no, he's got to be thinking, what is this guy doing with this squad? Because he sat there in that interview and was asked directly, do you think that you've underestimated Scottish football or the demands here? And he said no. And if you ask me, he's lied because he has.
100%,
He's
100%,
lied.
and he doesn't
He
want
sat
to.
there and barefaced lied to somebody because he didn't want to say yes because the optics are terrible. But it doesn't matter what he says, right? We can all see it. To let him continue and go into any planning for January is absolutely criminal and it's going to end up worse. And while somebody like David Weir is sitting without a job, the now, who is a Rangers supporter, played for the club, won titles up here, went to a European final in UEFA Cup ways as well. While he's sitting there without a job, done a brilliant job at Brighton, it's honestly a bizarre decision just to leave him sitting there and stick with Thelwell.
I can't argue with any
Aye,
of that.
fully agree. Fully
Absolutely
agree.
not. And you made
Obviously,
a good point earlier. Sorry, William.
no, carry on,
You
carry on.
you made a good point earlier, Cheech, in our group chat where you were saying, "What if he ends up at Hearts?" And I was like, "No chance." But then you
That
think,
was
well,
a chat
Tony
and
Bloom,
talk sport.
Tony Bloom,
That, aye,
Tony Bloom was
quote
at
Tony,
Was
aye,
Brighton, wasn't he?
exactly,
So
exactly.
he knows.
And for what we understand, Davy Weir's left there on good terms, so it's not like there's any animosity between they two that we know of. Um, the only thing I can say is it seems a bit strange that he's left when he's not had anything else lined up, and maybe he just doesn't want to do it anymore. Who knows? But he's got to be, he's got to be a better option than Kevin Thelwell. I'd have probably had more respect for the man if he just came out and went, "I underestimated that. I thought it would be a scoosh."
I
You
think
know,
that a Davy Weir appointment ticks more than just a box of replacing Kevin Thelwell. It gives that what we were saying a couple of pods ago about having a Rangers identity that Danny Roll can lean on. Like obviously, there's a lot of chat of him bringing someone into his backroom staff, but if he can bring somebody, if we can get somebody like Davy Weir in who will have a role at the club, but as well be able to be somebody that Danny Rowe can go to and say, what about this or what about that? Especially as well if Kevin Thelwell leaves and Patrick Stewart hangs about and he's going to be putting out daft statements condemning fans and stuff like that. Davy Weir would be like, I don't think Davy Weir would be slow in telling him, look, you can't do stuff like that. I fully think that of the available candidates to replace someone like Thelwell, Davy Weir should be at the top of the list. And if Andrew Kavanagh isn't looking into that now, why not?
See, to be honest, mate, like at this point in time, even if you're slightly thinking of maybe like saying to Thelwell, look, this isn't worked out, let's shake hands and part ways. That decision should be sped up by the fact that somebody like if he might not be interested, there might have been feelers put out. We don't know this kind of stuff, right? But if you're able to put the feelers out to David Weir and he says I would be interested, then that's got to speed up the process of going. Actually, do you know what? You've had X amount of money to spend, and it's looking like these players aren't up to scratch that you spent the money on. So let's shake hands, go our separate ways. It didn't work out, and we bring him in because to let it continue on like this is only going one way. Look how toxic it was yesterday. Look how toxic it was at Genk. Look how toxic it was at Ibrox last week as well. If
And
we don't get a
it's only
result on
going to get
Sunday,
worse.
it's going to be even worse.
Yep.
See these protests against the manager, they're not going to go away now. All that's going to happen is they're going to move towards Thelwell because we can't hide behind this new manager now because there's no blame. We're no going, we blame the manager like we did with Russell Martin, right? We are now moving on to going, right, we've changed the manager. These players aren't up to it. And whose fault
Yep.
is that?
Yep. So that's so in amongst all that, we kind of touched on the kind of confrontation at the airport in Norway last night. The message that's been put across by the fans. Obviously, we only get to see whatever gets recorded or whatever, but I don't think that Stuart and Thelwell particularly understand because they obviously come from a place of great privilege in terms of the earnings that they have, their backgrounds, and all that kind of stuff. These are regular, ordinary folk who are using their hard-earned money to fly all over
Taking days
Europe
off work.
to watch Rangers. It- Other teams and other supporters might look in and laugh and mock fans who say that this is our life and this is the way, this is everything to us. But it is. I don't think that that's what they understand. Like the common man, the football is the sport of the common man, and it's getting lost to people like these two absolute charlatans who have absolutely no idea what it means to be a Rangers supporter, and it's absolutely it's sickening and it's maddening, and I just don't know. I just don't know how we go about wrestling our club back from the brink of these two idiots absolutely destroying it.
They sat there and went, they were told, I've heard a report from somebody who was at the meeting the other day, and then I also listened to one of the four lads ones, and Stevie was there as well, right? And he said that Patrick Stewart was told, you've done too much wrong. I don't think you can change your perception. Kevin Thelwell was told that we think that you've underestimated this league. These signings are terrible. We don't see anything in these players. Majority of these players that you've brought in, for them to sit there and go, we need to win games and blah blah blah. This squad of players isn't capable of doing winning the games that they say they need to do in order to turn the tide. And I don't think the tide's going to turn anyway. So all that's going to happen now is this toxicity is going to hang around. We win on Sunday, you might not get it then. See, the next time we don't win or we get beat off Celtic or whatever, the next bad result, it's ramped up.
We've got a run of games coming up that any other time, any other season, we'd be looking forward to. A semi final against Celtic, Hibs, Kilmarnock, another European game against a big European opponent, nights that we love at Ibrox. And I'm dreading every single one of these games. Every single one of them.
And so it was what Kilmarnock, Hibs, Roma, and Celtic, and I think it was either our group chat or it was another one. It was like, can we feasibly see us taking points off of Kilmarnock and Hibs, and then beating Roma and beating Celtic. And I wouldn't be surprised if we never won any of them. But you have to take the flip side of that, where Celtic are probably just as bad as we are now in terms of how they're playing. I don't think they're any great shakes, and this is the thing that's probably more frustrating, is we probably would never have had a better chance to go a good bit ahead of them if we just had our in-house in order. It's so it's so frustrating because they just seem to be going for one disaster to another, but our disasters are a lot worse than theirs. It's just an absolute nightmare there now.
So obviously everything that we've spoke about so far was kind of within the last within sorry the kind of hours following last night's game. We all woke up this morning to a lovely picture of the Rangers store in Glasgow Airport sporting a brand new orange kit, which any other time I'd have been like, that is a banger of a kit. Obviously, I said that's a banger of a kit, and that I do want to buy it. But the optics of a fourth kit coming out when we could potentially be out, well, we're pretty much out of Europe as it is, with no need for a third kit. Like, they can't possibly expect this kit to sell. And I think from what I've seen, it was supposed to start being on sale today, but they actually pulled it because of the optics of yesterday.
They would have to, because you're now effectively, after watching that absolute embarrassment last night, going, "Hi guys,
These 80
here's
quid.
another £80."
Aye.
So they're going. I've seen a promotional photo of that kit. Right, that
Yep.
is the kit that was supposed to go. I've seen a promotional photo of it with a model wearing it. That was supposed to be announced. Obviously, they've maybe thought, get a positive result Thursday, stick that out on Friday. Tide turns a wee bit. People maybe buy it. I've got every top this season. I'm not buying that until the oil's gone, to be honest with you, because
Yep.
I have no confidence that this is not on the manager, to be honest with you. You might get a bit of a rise out of some of the players, but that squad is not good enough for this, for playing for Rangers and for the demands and expectations that come with it.
So that being said, we move to Sunday. Obviously, following last night's game, there's been a lot of chat amongst everybody, amongst various group chats and what have you. It is at Ibrox. It is Danny Rill's first home game. It's 3 p.m. kickoff on Sunday. Kilmarnock currently sit 1 point ahead of us in fifth place in the league. They have a better goal difference, and that their goal difference is a solid 0 across the board, whereas ours is -1.
That's because they've actually scored goals this season.
11 goals scored, 11 goals against. So they're leaky, but they can score. We, on the other hand, are just leaky. I personally, and I know I keep bringing Chelsea up on these podcasts purely because that's my only other reference, because obviously I followed Chelsea quite closely. I want an Antonio Conte style overhaul for Sunday. I want 3 at the back. I want Tavanir dropped. I just 2 up front. Just give me Danilo and Miovski as a strike partnership, and just let's see what the team can do. I don't know what you
I,
guys have.
I would have Finlay Curtis and Connor Barron in for the start, because as much as Barron might not be the best midfielder we've got, he never stops running, and we need energy in the middle of the park. And Finlay Curtis is just a kind of breath of fresh air on the wing, and he's not getting a chance. I mean, he scored against Panathinaikos, scored against St Mirren when we needed an equaliser late on, um, and he's barely featured since then. You know, he's not injured. He was on the bench last night, never got on. Um,
There was a lot of
yeah,
chat about him maybe not following Russell Martin's instructions to an absolute T, because
well,
obviously he came
be
on that.
actually shooting instead
Exactly.
of
That's what I
taking
mean. Like,
400 touches and passing it backwards.
he was upset about him coming on and scoring that equaliser when he needed it, kind of thing. Like that. That's the kind of feeling
He
I
was
think.
he was upset for keeping him in a job at the time. Aye, very good.
Exactly. Like, um, I think now, obviously, with the with what's happened recently, and it's coming up on 3 weeks since Russell Martin's departure. I think we can kind of now start kind of moving away we're talking about him and start focusing on the actual problems that we've got that can be fixed. Obviously, we kind of touched on the Killie game there, but before we do dive a wee bit further into it, there was a lot of chat last night amongst ourselves and on some of the pods that I watched this morning of the free transfer market.
Sign them
We,
all.
we are bereft of defenders that can defend, so I don't see why it's not something that we should maybe look into. Me and you, Charles, we looked at them for about 10 minutes after the pod
Aye,
last
after
night,
the
and
pod
we
last night.
picked up a few names. Like there's names out there. They might need a week or two to get up to speed because they're obviously free agents in October for a reason. But they can't possibly be any worse than what we've got at the moment.
See, right now, there's no leadership at this club, right?
Yep.
There's no leadership because Andrew Kavanagh sat there and went in an interview, we're still fighting on four fronts. 2 days later, that's one of them's gone. A negative result on Sunday, probably, I mean, it's probably, the league's probably gone anyway, right? But if you get another negative result on Sunday and other teams don't, that's gone as well. So he's almost has the opportunity to look like an idiot here 3-4 days after him making a statement that we all knew was bluster, right? So at this point in time, somebody needs to be an adult here and go, this squad isn't up to it. The defence especially isn't up to it. There is left back that we talked about, Renan Lodi, who's without a club now. There's the boy who used to play at Arsenal. Boy who used to play at Arsenal centre half. Can't remember his name.
Tomiyasu.
Tomiyasu.
And there's,
Right, there's
Sergio
two problem
Reguilon
areas
as
for
well.
us. Two problem areas for us right now that you can bring in. Now, they're not going to be up to speed. They've not played football for 3-4 months. They've not had a pre-season, right? Understand that. But bringing them in and spending 4 weeks, whatever, getting them up to speed now means that they're still going to be up to speed before Christmas, before January. And then you can then make tweaks in January. At this point in time, we look as if we're going to stumble along for another 70 days or 69 days to the January window before we start papering over the cracks here. And it's bad enough as it is now. So if there's an opportunity or any scope in order to do some business outside of the window for players that, if they've sat without a club for 4 months, I can't imagine the wage demand's been astronomical either at this point in time. If the wage demands, or for whatever reason, they've not found a club. So if they want to get back into football and not be too long at the game, then even at this point, have a contract to the end of the year with an option to sign on if you enjoy it, because we need it at this point.
Well, look at you need to go as far back as 2012. Look at Sonny Aluko. He never had a club. We signed him and he was brilliant for us.
I loved Sonny Aluko.
And he never joined us until October, November time. And he was
We talked about this
brilliant
last year as well. Like when Ryan Kent was flying about in a free transfer, right? Even give him a couple of months while, and then go, look, the incentive is there for him to do really well if he wants to move on elsewhere. Or he fits in really well, he really enjoys it. So then we go, do you know what? Why don't we give you another 2-year contract or whatever on top of that? So the options there to do that for these guys. Renan Lodi's only 28. The boy for Arsenal will be a young, I would imagine, young in the sense
26,
of
26,
26, right? So these boys can come in and do a 6 month or a year contract with an option to go, look, if you're really enjoying yourself and you want to stay on, we'll just sign you on for another 2 years. That can't be any worse than the guys have got on loan, to be honest with you.
No.
Speaking about the boys on loan, do you terminate any of the contracts in January?
All of them.
Even Cornelius?
Mate, it's probably the only one wouldn't be Cornelius because we've not really seen a lot of him and we've got an option to sign him at the end of the season, right? But, I mean, Max Aarons, where is he? Can he even get a game?
He'll probably start on Sunday.
We talked about Tavanir, right? And as much as I get it, look, Tavanir's a lightning rod and all the rest of it, but he's probably been played and needed to have been played for 2 seasons longer than he should, more often, like play more games than he should be. At this point in time, we should have had a young guy replacement in the new who's playing most of the games, and Tavanir's rotating in and out. Therefore, we'd not done that. So we've got Tavanir who's been getting played too many games, which means his defensive frailties and the fact that he's not the same player is heightened because we're really poor and we're noticing every mistake that's made so much more. So it's, to a sense, it's not his fault, but we've signed a boy, Max Aarons, who's we'll be paying a lot of money for him, and he can't even get in ahead of Tavanir, who's also not been good this season either. So to answer your question, mate, if they're not improving the team and they're not up to the standard, why would you keep them for the rest of the season?
Agreed.
I mean, you're left with Magoma at left back, who, for my mind,
was a
as
panic
much as
buy.
he's got a lot of energy, but
It was a
he
panic
has
buy.
no. He's got no defensive awareness about him, and when he goes forward, he's fine running forward, but when it comes to crossing the ball into the box, his delivery's terrible. So you go for as much as he was much maligned towards the end, you go for a delivery that you were getting for Borna Barisic to him. You know, it's the difference is huge. I mean, they're just as bad as each other defensively. Magoma's probably worse defensively, and that's saying something because Barisic used to put in some shockers for us defensively, but that back four needs a complete overhaul again. And I
Which
would, I
isn't.
tell you one
It's
thing
not going to
right now, I
happen in
wouldn't be
January.
getting Suter a deal. I wouldn't be getting Suter a
Nah,
new deal. I'd be like,
Nah,
all right,
you're
away
not.
you go. Away you go.
Nah.
See,
Thanks
thing
for
is,
everything.
just even if you replace everybody and you keep Suter as a backup, there's too much stink on him now.
Aye. I think that the fact that a lot of people now are being vocal about him being better for Scotland than he is for Rangers says to me that he much prefers to be in a defence where he's under the cosh constantly. Now I know obviously this season we've been under the cosh
He's
constantly,
been hopeless.
and he's been hopeless.
He's been
So
anonymous, man.
I don't see he hasn't earned a new contract for me off the back of recent performance, especially. I've never been his biggest fan to begin with. I just thought he was mediocre. I definitely thought he should have been third choice centre back. But as the cookie crumbles, he ended up being first choice for a long time because of injuries and what have you. Obviously we've got the ultimate utility man in Dujon Sterling, who apparently is close to coming back. So I don't know if Sunday will be too soon for him, but get him straight back into that team as soon as he's ready to go, man. In whatever position we need him to play in.
I vaguely remember reading or hearing something about it being November time before he'll be anywhere near it.
It's almost November, mate.
I could be wrong, but
Aye, like players like that, like as you said, I know at the time we needed the money and stuff like that, but we had a ready-made replacement for Tavanir and Nathan Patterson, and I'll never forgive the previous board for selling him, despite how much money we got for him. He was one of the players that I wanted to see, along with players like Billy Gilmore, who obviously has grew into his time in Italy and stuff like that and become a much better player. These are the kind of players that we should be looking to move on, but we're moving them on too early.
I think the problem you've got there with Billy Gilmore was that Chelsea would pay him a hell of a lot more money at the time than what we would if we'd have
Aye.
gave him a proper professional deal. And I think I could be wrong, but I think they bought a house for his parents and all the rest of it as well, which is something
Aye.
we just wouldn't do. So but I take the point on Nathan Patterson, and folk will probably listening to this will go, but he's been constantly injured in there. That's not to say would I get
The
injured
harder
up
league.
here,
Aye.
you know, and
no.
it's a harder league. And any
I've
time I have seen him, he's done absolutely fine for Everton.
Look, the way football goes, boys, you know it yourself. You sell somebody for 16.5 million, whatever the reported was. Where was the replacement bought for a fraction of that fee?
Yep.
That's my problem. I don't have a problem with selling players like that, right? Like, this is why the whole Chumiti / Eggman stuff really annoys me, is because you've got 10 million for somebody and you spent 8 million for somebody who's actually worse in a worse position. You
Does it look
take
to be
Nathan
getting any
Patterson,
better?
you sell him for 16.5, you spend £3 million of that on a replacement who's going to stay and develop, who's good, going to develop and get better. You then sell that person for 16 million or whatever, 15 million, and then you replace them again and you repeat the cycle. That's the way it should be done at a club who's looking to be what's the I can't remember the terminology for it, but I can't remember the terminology for it. But yeah, so if the terminology the way it is we are one of those like player trading model. That's the word I'm looking for, right? The player trading model is you sell somebody at a profit, you use a bit of that money you've got there to sign the replacement, so they're coming in, and then you repeat the cycle. and that's where the profit comes from. We've not been doing that, and
Yeah.
even up until right now, we're not doing that. To be honest with you, so they can talk about it all they want, but we're selling 3 left backs and panic buying a lone left back with about 18 appearances in his career up until that point to be your main left back.
It's a sorry state of affairs, boys. It's a sorry state of affairs, and it's going to take a long time for it to get fixed. So, with that said, one eye on the game on Sunday. What do you what do you reckon to Sunday, Cheech? What's your prediction? Not necessarily a score prediction, because I know you don't want to do that anymore. But
I think I
what
went
do
2-1
you
the
what do
last
you
2 games.
see? What do you see happening?
Yeah,
Like,
to be
what would you
honest
like?
with you,
What would you like to see happen? What would you like to see happen? Obviously, a win, obviously, but
I'm hoping that, like Danny Rule would say to the fans at the airport and after the game yesterday, look, I understand it's no good enough. Give me a few days with the players in order to work on some stuff, and hopefully we'll see an improvement. Right? I think we need to start winning games at Ibrox, of course, right? So I'm hoping that we'll win, but I've said that the last 2 games, and we drew and then got gubbed. So I, it's, I know we're talking about we don't want to sound too negative, right? And I don't really want to sound negative, right? But every other time I've thought we were going to go into this game and maybe we'll get a result, we'll get a rise out of them, it's not happened. So I'm kind of at the point now where I don't even want to talk about what I expect to see or what I want to see, and I want to just let them show me what we're like something else. Because at this point, we're getting fed up of the whole new manager stuff because we find out really quickly that talk is cheap. And same with the players as well. I said to you boys about obviously with Tavanir yesterday and Jack Butlandale on the week, and I said to you, I'm like, I don't care what they're saying. I don't care how true or how accurate it is, because until you actually start seeing something different on the pitch, it doesn't matter what anybody says. So I'm hoping for a positive performance and a positive result, but we'll see.
do you want to put a score on it, or are you Stephen Clear?
I'll go for a narrow win, to be honest, because I think we can't keep dropping points at Ibrox forever, and it's been long enough. So I reckon that we'll win, but I don't think it'll be a comfortable win, to be honest with you.
Okay, Stevie, what do you want from Sunday?
Changes. Can we change the entire 11 apart from the goalkeeper?
Probably
And the
could, aye.
sporting
Probably
director
could, mate. Aye.
and the technical
I think.
director and the head of recruitment and
How many
I mean,
players did we have on the bench last night? That was a full bench. Like, at least
Aye, that's
a
true.
full squad.
That's true. I mean, can you? How much work can you do on a new formation in the space of a couple of days? I'd like to see him try something new. The one thing I do like about Danny Rule is he's not come out and made any outlandish statements the way Russell Martin did, where he was like, "Oh, we'll maybe get a wee bit of pain at first, but then it'll be worth it," and all the rest of it, and we'll do this and we'll do that. He's not come out with any of that. So um, I'm just hoping for an upturn in performance, something to kind of cling to more than anything else. Like
I think as well, see that the bad thing about this game on Sunday is it's coming far too soon from last night. Like we were saying earlier, like the boys will have flew home either late last night or early
maybe
this
this morning,
morning.
probably.
Early this morning, they'll have had their debrief.
Mm,
Apparently, I was
it was last
hearing
night.
that Danny Rowe apparently goes over the full game individually with each player that played in it. So like he'll be going over the game, a full day of what you did wrong, what we can do to fix it. I don't imagine there'll be too much of a grueling training session tomorrow with the game on Sunday.
It'd take you longer than a full day to go over what that defence did
Exactly.
wrong
Like,
yesterday, man.
so I don't I would not want to be in his shoes. But sorry, Stevie, I cut in on you there, mate. Carry on.
no, just kind of hoping for a better performance and hopefully a win. I don't want to kind of put. I mean, if I'm forced to put a score on it, I can see us conceding because we always concede. Um, I don't see us running away with it either. I think it'll be narrow, 2-1, 3-2, something like that. I don't see us. I would settle for a 1-0 right now, but I feel as if like you'd like to think all it's going to take is one performance to turn a corner. The worry for me is I don't think these players have got a performance in them, to sustain it for 90 minutes. And the full season has backed that up. We've seen it for the first half against Pilsen. We've seen it for the first half against Dundee United last week. I just don't see us being able to sustain it because they get in front and then they go, right, what are we supposed to do now? So hopefully a better performance and 3 points is all you can really ask for at this stage.
With that being said, I will give my usual prediction of 4-0 Rangers.
Bold. See,
I
to
know.
be honest, my worry is us conceding first on Sunday because
The Heats get done.
not only that stadium will be absolutely
Oh.
toxic beyond
Do you
belief.
reckon there's going to be another big anti-Thelwell, anti-Stewart banner like there was last week?
100%. And do you know what? I know that as much as we're talking about, there's been a joke tweet going about saying that people's seats have been moved because they need extra stewards around about the director's box and stuff like that.
Could
By
very
the
well be
way,
true.
I wouldn't even, I mean, the optics are bad of them no being there,
Aye, I
right?
wouldn't blame them neither.
But I wouldn't be surprised if they weren't there
Aye.
because they will, if they thought last week against Dundee United was bad or the airport was bad, we go a goal down tomorrow, Sunday, sorry, and that will be nuclear.
Aye.
I've
So,
had enough. Fans have had enough
aye.
now at this point.
Kick off on Sunday at 3 o'clock. I believe we'll be doing a post-match reaction Sunday evening. Stevie, are you potentially going to be at the game, or are you going to the game?
Yeah, I'll be there. So hopefully it'll not be 90 minutes of suffering, but we'll see how it goes.
So we might, depending what time we decide to do this on Sunday night, we might get Stevie on location at Ibrox, and amongst the people. But
Well, I mean,
The
we'll have
roving
at least have
reporter.
somebody in the stadium that can report on how the atmosphere is.
because
regardless
sometimes it
of
doesn't come
how it goes.
across, especially because we're going to need to watch it on Rangers TV as well. We'll probably not get to see as much as what somebody in the stadium would get to see normally, kind of thing. But I think that's a good place to end it there, boys. You guys are abstaining from giving a number of goals being scored and stuff. I am going to stick to my normal 4-0 Miovski hat trick. Tavanir for the fourth, probably.
I suppose we need to start scoring goals at some point, don't
Aye,
we? So,
that's it.
Luck's
But
got to
again,
change at some stage. The law of averages says so.
that's it.
that's it. Thanks again, everybody, for all the positive feedback, all the comments, all the follows, subs. Obviously, you can get us on YouTube, you can get us on Spotify, Amazon Music. I will get round to getting us on all the other podcast places. I just keep forgetting to do it. But again, thanks for all the support, and we'll see you on Sunday. Cheerio.
Cheers, boys.
Cheers.